It's now time for FOMO. So unfortunately, we are looking at one of the most substantial pullbacks of the week, which is Nvidia. Definitely one that is felt by the overall markets. So joining us now to talk more about some of the pressures right now weighing on the stock is Diane King-Hall, senior markets correspondent for the network. So Diane, I did just see that Jensen Huang is set to meet with Trump at the White House this afternoon. Amid all of the other, right now, I'd say, definite headlines that are spinning. So walk us through the latest and greatest with Nvidia, because it does still feel like we are reeling from the DeepSeek hangover. I just have to say that word a few thousand more times to close out this week.
Yeah, I mean, that's not the only thing that's happening. It's clearly a lot of headline risk that is hitting Nvidia this week. It started Monday with DeepSeek and the threat that poses. But I know Alex just talked about kind of the broad market reaction to this breaking news that we saw from Reuters about the looming tariffs. And you saw Nvidia take a leg down after that. The stock had been pushing a little bit higher, marginally higher. It still would have been lower for the week, but you had seen some investors, trying to step back in and buy the dip that we saw this week, a major hit that it took. So here's obviously, as we knew how it happened, we had this news about DeepSeek and that there may potentially have been a competitive threat to Nvidia with this DeepSeek model that they had, that is the top downloaded app in the App Store, that was running faster, allegedly, than Nvidia's chip. There was the concern about then, would it eat into competition? It was reportedly cheaper. We still don't know if that 5.6 million was actually accurate. I know we're looking into that, and we know that government officials are also looking into how DeepSeek got these chips. Did they circumvent the process, especially when you think about export controls to get these? There's reporting, I saw this from Bloomberg, that they may have gone through Singapore to get these chips to be able to do this model that could potentially be a threat to Nvidia. So that is what we've seen that hit the stock this week. So again, it's been a lot of headline risk that's hit it. At the beginning of the week, it was DeepSeek. And then midweek, there was also, I think the questions that came into play is the earnings from both Meta and Microsoft, which was a mixed bag. Meta was good. Microsoft, there was some conservative commentary in there. And so what Nvidia needs is these Mag 7 to continue to spend and to keep up their capital allocation towards Nvidia. Now, Nvidia does have a big moat, and it has long leadership. It is the front runner in this AI space, so it has that to its advantage. But it brings up questions, and there had already been questions about valuations within big tech anyway. So it's clear that the market took this as an opportunity to, sell out of this right now and potentially do a reset when it comes to Nvidia, guys.
Nvidia said that its CEO, Jensen Huang, met with President Donald Trump of the United States to talk about American leadership in AI and technology. We valued the chance to speak with President Trump about AI policy and semiconductors. According to an Nvidia representative, Jensen and the president talked about how critical it is to advance American technological and artificial intelligence leadership. Today's meeting coincided with Trump's announcement that he would slap a number of tariffs on goods, including semiconductor chips. Trump demanded earlier this week that tariffs be imposed soon on pharmaceuticals, semiconductors, and computer chips originating from countries such as Taiwan. Trump claimed that companies don't require an incentive to establish their chip facilities in the United States during his remarks at the House GOP Issues Conference in Miami. In order to encourage chip manufacturers like Intel to invest in the United States, he proposed eliminating Joe Biden's initiative. These tariffs could have a significant impact. The lobbying group for the American electronics industry, the Consumer Technology Association, issued a warning that tariffs may raise the price of game consoles from hundreds to $1,000. We will be imposing tariffs on foreign manufacturers of computer chips, semiconductors, and pharmaceuticals in the very near future in order to bring these vital products back to the United States of America, Trump stated. By the way, they left us and moved to Taiwan, which accounts for around 98% of the chip industry. And we don't want to give them billions of money like Biden's absurd program. We want them to return. The CHIPS and Science Act, which was backed by both parties, allocated $52 billion in subsidies to allow businesses and establish factories in the United States. The Biden administration awarded funds to companies such as Analog Devices, TSMC, Coherent, and Intel. Give billions of cash to everyone. They have billions of dollars already. Joe, all they have is money. Trump claimed they didn't require funding. They required a motivator. Additionally, they won't want to pay a 25, 50%, or even 100% tax, which will be an incentive. They will use their own funds to construct the factory. We are not required to give them cash. They will enter since it is beneficial for them to do so. They have no idea what to do with the money you give them. This month, the SIA announced that the CHIPS and Science Act is on track to increase American manufacturing, generate jobs, accelerate economic growth, and advance national security, all thanks to incentives rather than tariffs. According to the group, the Act's manufacturing incentives have led to significant announced investments in the United States. This week, Intel announced that it had received almost $2 billion under the Act. Since the introduction of the CHIPS and Science Act, firms in the semiconductor ecosystem have actually announced 90 new projects in 28 U.S. states, totaling hundreds of billions of dollars in private investments. These projects will support hundreds of thousands of extra employment across the U.S. economy and generate over 58,000 new jobs in the semiconductor ecosystem. The United States will treble its domestic semiconductor production capacity between 2022, when the Act was adopted, and 2032, according to a May report by the SIA Boston Consulting Group. The world's biggest expected percentage rise during that period is the projected 203% growth. Additionally, the research predicted that from 2024 to 2032, America would account for more than a quarter, 28%, of all capital expenditures worldwide. At CES 2025, the Consumer Technology Association stated that the proposed tariffs may raise the cost of smartphones by 26%, game consoles by 40%, and laptops and tablets by 46%. So what implications does this have for Nvidia's stock? Let's explore that. But first, a big thank you to those of you who've stuck with us this far. Creating these videos takes significant effort and dedication, so if you're enjoying the content, please hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and share your thoughts on Nvidia stock in the comments. Your support truly helps us grow. Now let's get back to the video.
Fine then, Diane. It does seem if you're an investor and you were looking at a company like Nvidia, maybe it's been in your portfolio, big winning position. This is kind of the reason that many have been looking for to deleverage those positions. Do you think that's unfolding right now?
I think that's part of it because it's an opportunity where you say, okay, if there is a competitive threat coming, you know, I've already made enough on this that you could certainly see that there's the case for that. But again, you are foregoing the potential for future gains. So there is the question about, you know, is this a real competitive threat from China? And as Jenny mentioned as well, that Jensen Huang has been scheduled to meet with President Trump today. Now, according to the reports that I've seen from both Bloomberg and Reuters, this was a pre-scheduled meeting, but you can bet that DeepSeek will be on the conversation table today. And then there will likely be a conversation about export controls, especially when it comes to its chips to China. So you can bet that will be on the table for conversation today. And Alex, the other thing to keep in mind, especially how investors look at this, what I didn't notice was any kind of major reset from the analyst community. I saw reiterating of buy ratings, and we see that the analyst community is largely in the buy camp. We still don't have any sell ratings on Nvidia.
So that in itself is also frankly amazing. And I know we have earnings not, I believe, till the end of February. So this is always a late reporter in our cycle. But as far as now, like some of these expectations moving forward, I mean, I do feel like when it came to Nvidia, I know we had some specific news, but like you said, this week was a lot of volatility with a lot of headline risk. And I don't feel like it necessarily pertained specifically to Nvidia, but Nvidia was the one that really took on the brunt of the force, it feels like.
Yeah, heavy is the head that wears the crown, and Nvidia has been the king in this space, so it is being treated as such that, you know, we will come right for the leader. In other words, the investors are saying, you know, okay, we're coming for Nvidia, and obviously Broadcom was involved in that sell-off as well. And it's the question of, is this treated, you know, kind of a short-term, you know, reaction, or do you bank on the long-term and the, you know, kind of proven case that Nvidia has been, especially they have proven performance. So it's a matter of framing, I think, now in terms of Nvidia. Was this a warning sign or is this a buying opportunity? We really won't know until we get their next earnings.
That is also so.
Since the Chinese AI startup DeepSeek entered the competition for the best foundation model this month, several cloud providers are seeing a noticeable increase in demand for Nvidia's H200 chips. Since releasing its first model, V2, in May, DeepSeek has been on the radar of AI researchers and developers, even though the financial market learned about the huge language model's strength and efficiency on Monday, which caused Nvidia's price to decline. But what really got AI developers to pay attention was the performance of V3, which was published in December. Demand for Nvidia's H200s began to increase in January with the release of R1, the company's reasoning model that rivals OpenAI's O1. The demand for H200 has increased dramatically since the release of DeepSeek R1, according to Robert Brooks, a founding team member and vice president of revenue at cloud provider Lambda. Businesses are now pre-purchasing sizable blocks of Lambda's H200 capacity before it becomes publicly available, demonstrating the high level of interest we've observed. Because DeepSeek's models are open source, consumers can utilize them for very little money. To use them at scale, however, they still require hardware or a cloud computing service. 10 cloud service and AI inference firms were interviewed by Business Insider. This month, Nvidia's H200 graphics processing units saw a sharp rise in demand, according to 5. CoreWeave and Amazon Web Services choose not to comment. Requests for response from Microsoft, Google, and Oracle were not answered. DeepSeek models are now accessible on the different cloud and AI development platforms offered by AWS, Microsoft, Google, and Nvidia, or customers can follow the instructions to do so themselves. Citing a quiet period leading up to their results release on February 26th, Nvidia declined to comment. In the last 2 years, the number of AI cloud solutions has skyrocketed, expanding beyond the traditional cloud computing mainstays like AWS and Microsoft Azure. A variety of clients, including large multinational corporations, individual researchers, and startups, have made the demand. Half a dozen of the top 50 global corporations have contacted us, Tuhin Srivastava, a co-founder of Baseton, an inference supplier, told BI. I'm not exaggerating at all. To stay informed about the latest developments from Nvidia and the ever-changing stock market, consider subscribing to our investing tutorial channel. We provide daily updates on significant market shifts and key catalysts, so hit that subscribe button to ensure you never miss crucial information. We'd love to hear your thoughts on Nvidia stock, so please share your opinions in the comments below. Now let's dive into today's video.
Speculated on the Fed, and then we get all the answers, and we're still not happy. So I do feel like this is going to be many, many more months of us talking about DeepSeek and the ways in which we expect it to impact Nvidia. But again, we'll know when we finally get those financial results. But appreciate the insight, as always, Dan King Hall, senior markets correspondent for the network. And so now when we look at trading this name, Alex, we are down about 0.6% here. So we've been in a pretty substantial decline, really, since, around basically at the start of our show in Nvidia shares. Well, this name has been volatile today. I mean, we almost are back to actually where we opened. We rose to 127.85 and then fell to right now 124. So it's been a busy day for Nvidia.
No doubt about it. And so say you think this stock can make a run at its all-time highs before earnings. I got a strategy that risks a little, chance to make a lot if that happens. What we're looking at is buying a call vertical spread in Nvidia. Buying the 143.153 call vertical for $1 debit means that you're going to be risking 100 with a chance to make 900. Break even would be 144 on that particular spread. All of this expires the week prior to earnings. Let's not contend with that. So Jenny, elongated Z risk profile, but risk a little to make a lot. But you're going to need a lot of help from the market for this one to work out.
You're going to need a lot of the narrative really to shift, because right now it feels like we're piling on with these negative headlines, and unfortunately a lot of it out of Nvidia's control, but that's the nature of what happens when you're so exposed to some of these regions overseas and of course at the liberty of your administration. So one that we'll be watching, but it's definitely been felt by these markets that Nvidia has pulled back as substantially as it has on the week, now down about 15% from its highs and down about, now down about 19% from its highs and about 13% on a week-to-date basis. We'll leave it there.
Semi-Analysis's analysts of the semiconductor business observed on Friday that DeepSeek had a noticeable impact on market pricing for H100 and H200 capacity. On the company's November earnings call, Nvidia's chief financial officer, Colette Kress, stated that the company's H200 GPU sales had surpassed the double-digit billions mark. Throughout January, Karl Mozurkovich and his colleagues at cloud provider Valdi saw a spike in demand for H200, but initially they were unsure of the cause. Instead of owning chips, The Valdi team buys capacity from already existing data centers and resells it to clients. The company polled a number of H200 customers and found that all of them wanted the chips to run DeepSeek, while it is unsure of all the use cases for each chip it makes available. According to Mo Zerkovich, R1 attracted everyone's attention when it suddenly caught fire and then kind of went exponential. While most American businesses are reluctant to disclose their data with a Chinese company, they are willing to benefit from DeepSeek's model performance and reasoning improvements. This implies that they can execute the model on their own hardware or utilize an API provided by a US company. The model can be downloaded and used locally without disclosing any data to DeepSeek because it is open source. According to Mozurkowicz, startups accounted for the majority of Valdi's H200 demand. The market seems to be responding to DeepSeek by snatching up the top GPUs for testing as soon as possible. This makes sense, he added, since the majority of businesses' present GPUs are probably going to keep working on the ongoing tasks to which they have been assigned. The Valdi team is receiving longer-term requests for more hardware, indicating an increase in demand that might last past DeepSeek's initial hype cycle, even if many businesses are still testing and experimenting. According to DeepSeek's study, its models were trained on less potent hardware than models from the US. The stock market has been alarmed by this efficiency. Businesses like Microsoft, Meta, and OpenAI have already spent billions on AI infrastructure, and more are planned. The question of whether all that capacity will be required worries investors. Although the exact number is up for debate, DeepSeek was developed with fewer, comparatively weaker chips. Aside with training chips, cloud providers claim that utilizing the models for inference is a computationally demanding process. According to Srivastava, it is not lightweight or simple to operate. A model's size is expressed in parameters. More computation is needed for more parameters. There are 678 billion parameters in DeepSeek's most potent models. The GPT-4 from OpenAI has 1.76 trillion, whereas the largest Llama model from Meta has 405 billion. Srivastava claimed that while the smaller Llama model was far simpler to operate, most businesses avoided it if at all possible. Smaller variants of DeepSeek are also available, and even its most potent version is less expensive to operate, which has increased interest among businesses looking to implement the entire concept, according to the cloud providers. The only commercially available Nvidia chips that can fully execute DeepSeek's V3 model on a single node of 8 interoperable chips are the H200 chips. Spreading it across additional low-power GPUs is another option, but it takes more skill and is prone to error. Performance is virtually always slowed down by adding extra complexity, according to Srivastava. The Blackwell chips from Nvidia, which have only started coming this year, will likewise be capable of handling the entire V3 model in a single node. Instead of owning GPUs, Bastin purchases capacity from data centers that do, then modifies all of the software links to ensure that models function properly. Some of its clients use Bastin to maximize model performance, even though they have their own hardware in their data centers. Inference speed, which allows an AI-generated voice to talk in real time, is particularly valued by its clients. According to Srivastava, DeepSeek's open-source pricing and capacity were revolutionary for its users. "This does feel like a turning point," he remarked. Don't forget to share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Your input helps create a more knowledgeable community where we can all learn and grow together in the world of investing. Stay up to date with the latest market trends, insights, and key updates by subscribing to Investing Tutorial. We're here to help.